Top of the morning to you. Hey, I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Rue. Thanks for being on Rue Doodles Live. It's a Monday. I think it's July 25th, so we are winding the week up here a little bit. I think the next time, well, I think I got one more. Do I have one more event before? Yeah, I may catch that from a location. Going to be on the road later this week a little bit, but welcome. Thank you for being here. I saw you last Saturday morning. That was this past Saturday at Renaissance Patisseria. Those of you who missed that show, it's not that you missed the show. It's that you just missed one of the best pastries in the city of Charlotte. Okay, I'm just going to have to hand it to the guy. Training in the bakeries in France, it's just phenomenal. There's something about the way they handle the bread and the way they love the butter. It will just take you right out of here. Anyway, loved it. Met with some friends there, and of course, you know Chip from the show, and Jean Paul is the friend that Carol and I travel with in France, and so it's always fun to have him around. As having, he was like he's such a dear friend and such a servant guy. And we were going there really to see Pepe, who is his father, who now has passed on. And so, but he's just a real servant of a guy who it's great to have your own French guide. So anyway, it was pretty fun, I must admit. Great to have you on the show this morning. I'm going to say hello to some of you, and then I'm going to tell you a story. And speaking of love butter, it's about love. It's about something too that I've been pushing deep into the Patreon folks art class and the people who paint with me on Tuesdays in the Patreon classes. Both Good News Rue, just a short little thing we do, journaling, and also the deep class. And this summer they started looking for a journal, and I'm going to show you one more time how important those are. And also just talking about finding your visual voice, your style, is if you want to call it style. It will show up. It will show up. If you love this medium of art, it'll show up. Anyway, glad you're on the show today. Let me just say hello and see what connects here, and we'll go from there. Good morning to you. Gene Anthalzer, thanks for being on the show. And Catherine Brousseau, Steve Catlin, morning to you, my friends. Jethro Bodine, good morning, Rooster. My parrot friend from down in Parrot Land, way down in Florida. Jethro and I connected many years ago, before I even did a live show with about some painting and cast iron. And so keep up with him. Susie DeLay, thanks for being on the show today. Susie DeLay, you're not in delay mode. You're right at the top of the list today. So bravo to you, my dear friend. Pat Brooks, thank you for being on the show. Pat, of course, I'm going to share something with you this morning out of, let me grab this. I pointed down. It's not there. Noodle, doodle, fiddle, piddle is always laid close hand. But I want to share something. The other day, I got to take this book with me to a consulting event, and I shared a story with two young ladies who are trying to organize some teams. And they were feeling like they'd been a little run down and rote, R-O-T-E. And so I shared with them a chapter in here that some of you probably know well now. One of the things that I didn't do was a table of contents. It just didn't seem like the book was long enough to warrant it. But now that I'm the one that can't find it, but it was this chapter right here that I shared, which they said, I don't understand what you're reading to us. I said, don't worry about it. But it's inconsistently consistent and consistently inconsistent. You go, wait. Are you just trying to make a tongue twister? Well, yeah, a little bit, but I want you to think about this. And so that was the chapter that I shared with them. But I didn't tell them that I wrote it. I just said, I want to share with you something that is written here that I found that's been helpful to me in people always know that I'm going to sit down and do some zany, whimsical drawing. They just know that. The people yesterday where Carol and I had lunch at the bar, it's a full service bar. They bring out all the main menu there. And so they didn't have any tables. It was an hour wait to this restaurant after church. And so we just said, hey, we'll sit at the bar. So we've done that before. And on the way across, I see a guy who is there anytime I'm there. In fact, he brings his dog into the bar. And this is a really uptown, swanky little place. And so I said, "Hey man, how you doing, Dan? And how's your brother?" And I worked with his brother for a while, and so I always paint something, and I'll show you what I painted. I painted a bee on a coaster. Here we go, right here. There it is, right there. So these are, and the thing I love about their coasters is they don't. It's not gaudy and logo like, and it's not like being in a, you know. And so put your iced tea. I have or sweetened iced tea with no ice. I don't know why I call it sweetened iced tea. So I just say, could I have tea with no ice? So I painted this little bee, and I painted another one like this. Hey, don't be so square is what this one said, and this is number 259. There's 259 right there. And so I thought, hey, can I have a couple of those coasters? And so she gave them to me, and I just looked in my pocket. She's going like, what is wrong with that guy? Just like that. And I go, and she goes, oh, I know who you are. You're Rue. You're the rooster painter. And I go, yeah. And so I gave away a painting while we were sitting there. Um, and so, but part of it is I love going there because the food is so remarkable. And I had a croque monsieur or a croque madame, which is a bechamel over ham with Gruyere cheese on top of that, and then a soft, just an over easy egg laid across the top of that. Whoa, get out of town with a little rocket green salad off on the side, and pretty amazing. And sip my tea and doodled. So I paint on these with just whatever I carry with me. And I got into that because of sharing what you like and what you love, and so people enjoy the fact when a lady on the way out said, "You were painting, weren't you, at the bar?" And I said, "Yeah." There's no law against art. She says, "Oh no, is there any way I could ever see one of your paintings?" And I said, "Sure, more than that." So I reached in my pocket and I handed her one of these little paintings, and I said, "Here, this one's for you." And she said, "Why honeybees?" And I said, "Well, it's a brand new thing. I've been painting roosters, and I've painted thousands of them for the last few years, and I'm still painting them like crazy. But I'm on a kick right now to do 2,000 bees, and I want to see before the summer's over if I can get over the 500 range, which I think I can. I'm at 259, 260. I painted another one early this morning. Um, so that was the whole thing. And I just gave her one, and you would think that it was like, oh, thank you, I love this. And I said, well, love is maybe a little strong. Maybe it's not when it comes to art. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit this morning. So I'm going to share that. Okay. So good morning, Pat. Thank you. That was a long introduction there, but Pat, I appreciate your art. Chris Whitaker, thanks for being on the show. I always love having you here. Kristen McKaney, Chip Furr, welcome, my good friend. Love having you on the show. Donna Sell Barton, Karen Binder, Deborah Lynn Tauber, Valerie, thanks for being on the show. Sharon, John Robert Small, just in time. Glad you're here, my friend. Paula Lindy, Michelle, Renee. I think you probably got the word Saturday. If you didn't, I mentioned you in the show. You got a little birdie coming to you. And so I don't know if we'll get it delivered before I leave town this week, but we'll get it to you. Karen Pulver, good morning. Welcome, Cindy Wiltermood. I love your working art and love your getting out there and putting your art out in places. Love, love, love. Karen Binder, Denise Albright from Exeter, California. It's not even on there. See, I know now where you people are from. Andrea Nell, thanks for being on the show. And it's good to know you're from the Potomac Highlands of West Virginia. I have no idea where that is, but I know if you're getting up on the end of the Potomac, you're pushing on up into it gets cool in the winter. Love it. Love West Virginia. Beautiful country. My gosh. Fern Skelly, Gene Anthalzer, Janice Scott, Kim Sheets. Kim, I got my bee wearing the socks, and I got my bee socks. And I don't have them on right now. I'd throw my leg up on, no, I wouldn't. If I threw my leg up on the art table, my chair would turn over and then the show would be over because I wouldn't get back up. That's how stiff I am today. But thank you so much. Unbelievable. Beyond the call of duty. Tamberly Marie, morning. June Jones, glad you're here. Patricia Hazel, good morning from St. Louis. Or good morning to St. Louis. Beverly Schmidt, always know you're in Greenville. Sue Kane, how can we forget, my dear friend, the teacup. Thousands of teacups are being cranked out there, just in watercolor style from Southern Australia. Linda Linhart, welcome. All right, here we go. Y'all are saying all hi to each other, so we're jumping through these names. Mary Quayle, thanks for being on the show. Genoa, thank you. Elaine, that's Elaine Barnett, thank you for being here. All right, Ann Westra, thank you. Finished up my morning cardiac. Woohoo! Okay. Lori Handelmeyer, Stanley Henderson. I reversed it there, didn't I? Yep. All right. Here we go. Let's paint a little bit. So what I've got laid out here is Michelle. What? I had a bird from Rue pick someone else. Oh, I didn't know you'd had a bird. I was going to give you a bird. Oh, well, okay, I'll pick someone else. But I thought you did not have one, and I was going to make sure you had one because Denise had one. So I will pick someone else then, since you've already had one. But I was going to let you start another one, but I might do that anyway. I've got a story to tell you about Gardener's Cottage. We're heading over there next month. All right, so here we go. I'll settle that before the show's over. Pick me, Paul says. Bird in the hand, John Robert Small says. You know how you finish that statement, John? Bird in the hand makes it hard to eat a whopper. There you go. That's what my friend Jerry Blacklaw used to say all the time. Cheryl Johnson, good morning. Glad you're here. All right, so here's what I want to share with you this morning. So stay with me, viewers, for a little bit. I got into love art, and I've been talking about the Patreon people of painting what you love and digging down deep and getting a journal and looking at enough art this year. So you folks who are part of Patreon, I'm pushing you. That's why you're investing in what I do. I'm pushing you. But remember this right here. It's in Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, which is, I say this because it ties into something else. Rue rules, if I had rules. But there are some rules that I do have. I follow them loosely, like a chef would follow rules. And I'm going to show you a couple cookbooks this morning just for fun because it'll tie into a story. But also, sometimes they'll start it with, here are my rules. But if you don't have this, use this. If you can't get that, get this. And especially if you're a farm to table sort of chef and you go, let's have some carrots. And you go, well, I don't have carrots, so we'll better use a rutabaga. And if you're going to eat that, you're going to have to get a blacksmith to pound it up for you. Art created out of service will never hold the eye like art created out of love. So think about this as you're chasing your style. And let me say it again. I said it Saturday morning. If you don't love your art, throw it away and paint it again. It's just paper and some of your time. And that time is not a waste of time. It's a learning time. Thomas Edison, you know that. He said, it wasn't that I failed all those 3,000 times. It was just I learned things that didn't work. So I don't have to put that together anymore. So my point is this, you're not wasting time when you're learning art. For heaven's sakes, you're learning who you are and how you express it. I think I told you 2 weeks ago, my bees have changed. I knew they would. I knew I had this little stiff bee. He wasn't flowing like the bees that I wanted to flow. I'm not looking at other bees. I'm not looking at other art bees. I'm just saying I want to cross between the Apis mellifera, the western honeybee, and I want to cross between the bumblebee because they're both pollinators. One brings me the honey, the other one just brings me a buzzing and flying around the porch. But they're beautiful when they're so heavy and they hang on the flower and the flower's rocking like going, whoa, we don't know if we can hold the bee. There's something about the fuzziness that just makes them, I don't know, they're the teddy bear of the bee factory. I just said that. My point is, I wanted to be in between there somewhere, but every time I painted one, it looked kind of funky. And so I've been pushing in that direction just on my own and thinking, how would I do this? And so I will spend time later developing the bee that's kind of flying that way or up or down or that way. Right now, I'm painting a back bee because I like the colors and I like the way the wings spread out for my art because it sort of spans like a butterfly, and I like that. So it's taken me a while, but now at 260, let's see, I showed you 259, that was on that. The 260th bee, oh, shucks. Yeah, I had it somewhere here. I laid it over here to show you. Now I can't find the cotton picking thing. Here he is. Here's the 260th bee right here. No, 281. Whoa! Yeah, I came home, that's right, I came home and painted about another dozen and a half. This is 281. Right here he is. He's sort of light. He's whimsical. He's got a little bit of the comb on there. And that's the bee that I've come up with so far. Now, this will change another 50 times. But I'm getting to the bee that I like. He's more fuller. He's fatter. The lines show up. And guess what? I've used probably 3 tools to make him happen. And so I painted him out of my small Altoid box. Didn't even have this. This one's on the desk this morning, but it wasn't revved up. You know how I yell at it and say, "Wake up!" Which I need to do right now. Wake up! Spray it with a little bit of a mister here. Those of you who know how I do this, I just give it a little, not much. I don't want it to get runny. I just want it to wake the surfaces up a little bit. So this is a very fine mist. Zip, and so that's what I do. Sometimes I'll even take that spray and I'll spray it across the top. I wouldn't do it on this because this paper is cardboard, and I got to be very careful with how it's painted on this. But I'll show you another one. I'll do that too. The point is, I create those out of love because I love honeybees. My father had a very interesting relationship, and it wasn't that he told me he loved me all the time, and that changed how I responded to my kids. I told him I loved them all the time. Still do. He didn't say that, but later in my life, he said, "I love you, son. I love you, son." And I said, "I love you, Dad." And so we had that relationship, but I had a more of a working man relationship with him where I kind of apprenticed under his carpenter skills and under his I can build anything skills and I can make things skills, and then his love for honeybees. I didn't become a beekeeper, but I've fallen in love with just the science of it. It's just fascinating. So that pulled me into this. So I paint bees out of love, and 2000, just because I made a statement and said, by the time I get to 2000, I'm going to have that down like I have roosters. Not everybody likes my roosters. It doesn't matter. I love them. I love what they say. I love how they look. I love the brightness of them. And that's what makes them special to me. I find that people like what I like too. And that's how your art will be. So if you haven't found that style, maybe you're just still painting out of service. Don't regret this time. Push it hard. Sounds like a Patreon teaching class, but you guys have heard this. If you're hearing it again, more power to you. Push, push, push this summer from the time that we have those in-depth classes. I believe some of the best songs in the world are the ones that were written out of great hope and pain and experience. The richest melodies are connected to the heart. I think some of the best paintings, the ones I've ever seen, may have captured the artist's heart this way, and that's the way art needs to be. Your art, which you should produce every day, or at least some doodle every day, even if it's on a grocery list, or go back to what Michelle was doing when she was painting a receipt from a place to eat or a grocery receipt. Just doodle on it a little bit. I'm going to tell you, her art during those period of months, and I promise I'm right, Michelle, it increased. Everybody could see it increasing, and how you had to handle the color and the pen and what you were working with. Those things are the fails and the trials and the errors that you go through in art. So you should basically, if you're going to carry around an art portfolio and say, here's my art, you're only going to put in there the things that you really love. And those are the things that people want of yours too. So keep working until you discover that one thing. I'm not talking about copying someone's art. Could you copy this? Sure. You could take a shot of this and you could blow it up and you could trace it and you could paint it just like this and you could sign it and you go, look what I did. But there's a part of you inside that would say, no, that's not my bee. That's his bee. I want my art to be an extension of my heart and what I love. In fact, I might just do flowers that way, or I might do teacups that way, or I might do dogs that way, or gnomes, or you see where I'm headed with this? Or angels. I was with Anne this week in her art gallery. Saturday afternoon, I left the French restaurant and I drove by the art gallery. Anne moved her gallery. And I saw Marcy, the lady I shot the video for, who wrote the book, and her art's in there. And I said hello to Logan, who manages the place, and said, hey, how's the new shop, the new gallery coming? She goes, oh my gosh, people are finding it. And some couples walked in. And so I started talking to some folks. And Ann pops in. She says, I'm just passing through. We're getting ready to head off to Rome. And I go, you better be sketching in a journal. And she says, oh, yeah, what is that journal that you use? She said, I just bought an Altoid box and I put my paint in it. I'm ready to go. Thank you for the art lessons. And I'm going like, yeah, you're telling me thank you for lessons? Come on. Ann's a painter of oil and these mega paintings of angels, and she's coming out with a new book, and it's all this stuff, but it's part of the community here. And so I said, you mean this journal? And I pulled out the one that I'd had Saturday with Jean-Paul and Chip, because I wanted to show Jean-Paul the story of the picture of him in my journal. Here it is right here. There's Monet's Garden. Here it is right here. When I painted up on Montmartre, the church, the Sukkot, when I painted this church, I went inside and I did just a shot of the window, just rough and pen. Look, but JP had lost his mother. He was going to see his father. His mom had died, and this is JP lighting a candle just in remembrance of his mom in the church. And so I said this, and he said, "No, you're going to make me cry here at the breakfast table." I'm going like, "I'm glad your tears are that close to the surface." But these are the journals that I paint in. My point is, all this was painted out of love because we're traveling in France and we're telling stories and we're sipping coffee at cafes. And so that's how this journal came to be. Those of you who know about this journal, it's 12 feet long, and it's I did 3 pages a day as I traveled through France, and then I always do a large painting at the end. And so Ann goes, "I need to find one of those. Where are they?" And I said, "Well, I got a clean one at home on my desk, but Cheap Joe's is open today. Call them right now," which is about 15 minutes from where she was. And she called them, and they had 2 of them in stock, and she said, "Hold them, I'm on my way." And so she took off with one of those journals. So keep journaling, keep painting what you love, and let's paint something here. I'm going to do a bee on one of these little cards. What do I do with it? Here it is, and let you see how I do that. Remember, this is cardstock. This is cardboard, okay? And you can do this once you learn how to pick up a coaster like this. See? What's this? There, just like that. Oh, you did you see that? Yeah, I think you saw it. Here, watch this. Ooh. Oh, look, on the back of this one, there's a bee. Oh no, I spilled my tea. This ought to be brilliant. This paint just got awakened by tea, so this ought to be fun this morning. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. I'm gonna paint something on this, and I remember about love. I fell in love again with my with this pen, the Lamy. So what a crazy person I am. Just goofing off here this morning. Thanks for being on the show. Who else here? Linda Schleikney, thanks for being on. I paint with you like Bob Ross. Happy little bees. I love it. Okay, Mary Quell, if I receive one, you'll be one of my Twitter recipients. Okay, there we go. Okay, it was hard to focus things. Hard for me to focus on just one thing. I haven't found that thing yet. Linda, some people have not. That's not a failure either. You keep painting until you start to notice some things that may be doodles for you that you love. Okay, start noticing that. Ooh, that's something that I love to doodle. All right, here we go. Let me start with just a Pentel pen, and I'll do a little bee like this one right here. Okay, so you can see that one. I'm going to lay it there, and I'll just sort of look and see. He's got little. I don't know if there's a back or a front to this. I don't think it really matters. No, it's probably just a piece cut out. You know, they probably buy these things for, 100 of them for a nickel, just stamped paper. All right, so what I've done, instead of making my bees just sort of long like this, making them look like yellow jackets and trying to create all the bees, but now look what's happening to my arm. I find that I'm doing things differently already. You know, it used to be that I'd try to get the bee's body just right, and I'd try to get everything right, then I'd try to go back, add the legs. I just do it all now in one fell swoop. Watch, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I need a little bit of painting music, don't you think? I gotta have something to paint too. Kind of loud, isn't it? And the antenna's there. While I'm here, I'm going to do his little legs up already, like this. Look, those are probably a little long, but that's okay. These are going to be here, and you're going like, wait a minute, you can't draw those there. And I go, why not? Well, because you're going to draw his legs there. Yeah, in a minute. Okay, there's his legs. Bees have a little bit of a shoulder backing right here. Some little darkness coming in there. Then his wings sort of go out this way, and they drop back, and then there's another wing underneath there. But that little leg is underneath this wing down there. See that? Whoa, it's coming together. I think you can see that coming in right there. Then put another bold spot in here. Now, what I can do here is, this is where I said I fell in love with this pen. Watch this. I'm going to come in with this Lamy, which is a medium pen, which is pretty doggone heavy. And look, I'm just going to come in here and throw some black ink right in here like this, just on these places that I want this bee to be black stripes in here. And then I'm going to do his legs just in this too. And I'm not trying to fill them in. Remember, I'm not coloring like I'm coloring in a coloring book. I'm letting my pen respond like I would a watercolor brush, with leaving some holidays in there. And then maybe just a little bit of this across here like so. And then, so I have that almost done. Look at this. I'm going to come in with a kind of a small brush. How small? How small is small? How about a brand new one here? Look at this one. This is a number, what is that? A number something? I don't know what that is. I think it's a number 3. Well, I don't know. Oh, it's 4. It's a number 3. So I'm going to take this skinny little 4 here and go into my my paint that I just wet with the tea. It ought to be good and moist. All right, so this is Gamboge, and I'm just going to come in here and drop some yellow in. And I'm trying not to hit the black this time because it's ink. Remember, it's going to dry into this cardboard a little faster. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to grab a little bit of this orange too and drop that orange right in there. That's kind of a fun thing to do sometimes. And I'll show you something else I do. I'll take a little bit of brown and I'll toe a little bit of brown on him just like this. And that brown is going to give me a little shadow on these stripes. Look at that right there. See? Ooh. Don't you just love that? And then I'm going to go get some French gray. French gray works great for this. Great gray. Get it? If you wanted to add a little color, I'd use maybe a buff titanium. That's over here. I could throw a little buff in there. You can't tell the difference on this paper, though. And then what I might do is come back in just a second with a touch of lamp black and just darken this up. Or let's see if I can pull any liquid out of that Lamy pen. Oh, yeah, there it comes right there. Look at that. And then just a little more right here. And then just a little cross. Look at that bee. Come on. And my tendency is to overwork it and make it look, oh, it's got to look right. It's got to look real. No. Let it alone. Let it alone. Come in with this little 05 Pentel and just do some little fuzzies around there, you know, because bees look like they need a good shave. You should let one crawl on your hand sometimes while you're having watermelon, and it'll keep you honest and humble and sitting still. And I like this little, come in with a little bit more right here and just some little pricklies right there coming down on his legs. And so I suddenly have this little bee that I like. Look at that. Okay, so while I'm still at it, and before I forget, I'm going to say this is, what did I say that other one was? 259. No, this one over here was 281. So this is going to be number 282 right there. And then I always sign it. Now, when I was blacksmithing, I'd always have somebody that would come by the shop and they would say, hey, can you make me a scroll, kind of scrolled up thing? And I'd say, sure. So I'd heat up a piece of flat metal and I'd reach over in my toolbox and I'd get this jig that I built up that had set down in the hardy on my anvil and it was curled. And I'd drop it in there and I'd go, and it never failed. Somebody go, that's cheating. And I'd go, cheating? What are you talking about, cheating? I built the fire. I'm forging with coal. This is my anvil. I set up the shop. I learned to use the hammers. I even built the jig that I'm making the scroll with. At what point in time did you see me cheating? And why would you even use that word? So, and I would say it with kind of the blacksmith's stern face, which is easy to say serious looking when you got soot all over your face and your nostrils are filled with coal dust. And I'm going like, so at what point did I cheat? Well, using that thing there you did, it's like rolling up a rope on it. I'm saying like, so did I run down to Lowe's and buy this thing? No. Where did I get it? I don't know. I made it. I had to learn to make this by hand so I could make these others. So when people say, could you do some maybe a little honeycomb on there like that? And I'll say, sure, I could. I could spend the next hour with my ruler drawing these little things, or I could just go get a template that's this piece of wire that I use in a project, and I could drop it down like this, and I could just drop a little pencil in there like so, and just maybe make some little, just trace them like this. Original to this, don't know if anybody's ever used it before, maybe. I used this on a project that I was working for a company who wanted this in the backdrop of their office tables, and so I did it for them. So there, I just put a little bit of that around there like that, and then I dropped in with my, where's my number 4 brush? Here it is. rinse it out a little bit, grab a little bit of this gamboge, a little bit of buff titanium. Maybe I need a little place to mix some of this. Here, let's see, a little gamboge and some buff. Need some buff. There we go. That's kind of I need a little more buff, a little white, maybe some French gray. What's he trying to do? Make it a little honey color. Just drop it in here like this, in between, just between them like this. Look how long this is taking. And then maybe grab a little more of the yellow and just hit some of the pieces like this. And I just have finished this bee. Done. There we go. So this is more of my style. And what I love about this is this. What I love about this is this. I love that it's my style. It developed. I haven't seen another bee like it. It's kind of a cross between that Western honeybee, more of an African color. No kidding. Look at the African bees. They have a lot more dark in them that make that orange pop out. If I added anything to this at all, it'd be just a little touch of Halloween orange, just maybe right there, just as a little spot of it, and maybe right here. And then I'd probably darken in this little eye content just a little. There, I'm finished. And so for me, it's not just like this one, but no two are going to be alike. But I love it because there are similarities in the style. This one's a little longer, and I wanted it to be, I felt like I started with this one a little low on the page, and so I wanted it to be a little larger. So I just saw that as I sort of came into it. For me, I'm putting some of these together because I'm going to take them over to Asheville the first part of September. And also, a lot of the bees that I'm doing right now, a number of bees are going to be in the auction on August 19th, Friday night. Write this down, August 19th, Friday night. A lot of these bees are going to show up at the auction that we do for David's Table, which is the special group of folks that we try to raise money for so they can go to a camp. This camp is no steps. It's all wheelchair ramped. And so all this special David's Table folks and their families are going to go to this camp. And Michael Ashburn's coming down from Indiana. He's speaking. I'm goofing off a little bit with him and painting something on stage, but also just hanging out and painting and teaching some, not teaching, for heaven's sakes. I'm just connecting people with their art. But the pictures have came in, and in the next week or so, I'll show you some of the 15 or so flowers that I have painted by the David's Table people. And I just want to tell you right now, in their own hand, in the people helping them sometimes with their hand, in people coming alongside and holding their arms while helping paint and letting them choose the colors in the way that they can for these people. And then they're going to have their name on there, and it's going to say David's Table on it. And those are going to be shipped out of Greenville, I'm sure. But you can auction on one of those and have it, and you'll know what your money went for. It's to help someone. In my case, the flower that I have over here is from Chris. And so I'm taking mine with me so I can get Chris a picture of me and Chris holding my flower. I already have one. So I'm going to be doing that on August 19th, Friday night, right here. But I'm going to try and throw in a little bee with each one of the flowers just to say, hey, you got a flower, you need a ruby. Get it? All right. So there's a little bee. I hope that helps. Keep going. Let's see. I paint bees. Somebody says, how do you have such a light touch with the water? You mess up by having, what, light touch? Did you not just see me turn over my tea? These are blacksmith hands. If you are having a hard time with water, then you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you right now. Stand by for this breaking news. Use a smaller brush. If I'm trying to paint everything with you notice I didn't paint this little thing with a bamboo brush. If I did, I would have barely touched the water. I chose a number 3 or 4 nylon brush. It holds less water than, what's that old thing? Your idea, sir, would hold less water than a roll of chicken wire. One of my favorite sayings of all times. You wouldn't want a number 8. You wouldn't want a 10. You certainly wouldn't want a 28. You certainly wouldn't want a brush like this to do a little painting like this because you would drown the thing. So what I would do is I'd choose a brush, and here's the way that I learned this. Wait a minute. Where is my little brush? I learned to paint watercolor with, shucks. I'm still learning, by the way. If I quit learning, it means I've gone home to be with Jesus. So I'm still learning. But my point is, rats. What is my point? My point is I can't find the brush I was going to show you that I learned, but it was about this big right here. Take a look at this. What is this? This is a number 0. This is kind of what I learned to paint with right here, because I was afraid of too much water and too much color, and I did not want to just look like I'd colored it with crayons. I don't like that. I have found that I would rather have a small brush and a little pad of crayons than I would an ink pen. Or I love ink pens, and I love to sketch with ink pens, but sometimes I'd rather just do black and white and just brush it in with black and white than I would paint. But I don't like colored pencils. I don't like watercolor pencils. I like them. They're fine. In fact, the best ones that I had, I just gave away last week. I gave them to a young lady and her little brother, who I think she's probably 4 and he's 7. And they are just great little wannabe artists. And so they love, but they never had watercolor pencils. And I showed them how you could squiggle a little bit and then put water, a little bit of water on it. So if you're having trouble with water, use a smaller brush. And you think, well, that's ridiculous. You go, no, just do it. And then go back and add a little bit. And here's the brush I was looking for originally. See, now that I don't get to see it. It's this little dagger brush. Here it is right here. It's about worn out, you can see. And I can't find this brush anymore. But this one's what I started doing these tiny little watercolor pictures with because of the size of my hands. And then I fell in love with small art. And that's really kind of where this thing came from. So glad you're on the show with me this morning. B828 for the win. Bingo! Nice B. Thank you very much. I painted 3 B's yet soon of energy. Oh, yeah, there you go. Susie DeLay just found out if you paint one of these with even a fountain pen, try a fountain pen and the water really takes off. So you got to be careful. If you're painting one and you get too dark in there with one of those pens and it touches the water, zoom, that water takes off. So just start with less amounts of water, okay? Where will you be in Asheville? Pamela McDabb, I'm going to tell you where I'm going to be in Asheville. Here it is. August 19th, my birthday. Glenda Edwards, small, awesome. Ding, auction. Yeah, in fact, I will auction this bee off this morning. Which one did I just paint? 282 is on his way out the door. I'll auction him off this morning. And he's on the back of a coaster. I'm gonna give him a caption here in just a minute, so we'll see how that finishes. But I've got a few minutes to show you something else this morning. I wanted to tell you about how I had forgotten. I hadn't really forgotten, but I'll show you some more of the bees. But I've been painting with this Kakuno pen. I've been drawing with it so many weeks now that I really looked over in the cup and I said, "Oh, my dear friend, I left you as I went on a journey," and it's my Safari pen. And I forgot how I love this pen, and I love the way that it. And by the way, these pens are difficult to paint with on watercolor paper, so you just have to give them a little time until the ink runs down. You just can't slide across like you can with hot press, which is I know that Chris paints a lot with hot press. This pen will take off on hot press, but so will the water too. And so you got to be careful when you're painting with this. But this pen, if you remember. This is the Lamy, and I started painting. I've been painting with a Lamy for over 10 or 12 years now, and one of my favorite pens, the Safari, gave my first one away on a wedding. I was in Nashville, and the young lady that helped me set up the room for a friend's wedding, she was pretty impressive, and so she said, "Oh my gosh, is that the pen that you normally carry?" It was yellow, and I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, I love that so much. I could never find a pen like that, and I'm moving to the Dominican Republic, and there's no way out." And I go, "Well, you drive a hard bargain." And so I just took the pen out of my pocket and I handed it to her, and I had another refill with me, and I said, "Here, take this, and you'll order the refills, and you might find some of those or fill this up." And anyway, I gave it to her, and she sent me a note the following week and said, "We're packing, we're leaving, and I just wanted you to know this is going with me." And it was about 2 months later that I went to get my pen and went, "What did I do with my pen? Oh man, that thing's in the Dominican Republic on a trip." Her husband went there to study, And so I just could not, and so I started searching for them, and I went to all these shops, and I thought, oh yeah, we had this thing called Amazon. And I remembered remember what it was. And so I took off and ordered one. Man, I've been happy ever since. I've had 3 of them since then. Lost one somewhere, which I've been known to do. And just remember, when you're dealing with watercolors, you're going to have to get into the fact that you're in charge of where the water goes, but also quit trying to control watercolor. Those of you who shift back and forth from acrylic to watercolor, you're probably going to have a fit for a while until you decide that maybe I just need to be in one medium for about 6 months, or I really have to shift gears mentally if you can do that. Some artists can. They can pick up a brush and push paint around. And what I call push painting around, that's not a derogatory term to those of you who paint oil or acrylic. But with oil and acrylic, you have to push and pull more than you flow. In watercolor, you got to flow, and you got to be happy with where the flow goes. Okay? If you're not, you're probably looking at the wrong medium. If you paint a little watercolor thing and you go, I'm not very good at that, I'll go back to acrylic. Do you go back to something that you painted a lot, or do you try something new and you don't get it right? I'm just saying the reason I'm doing 2,000 bees at 200 bees at 182 bees, 100 bees ago, my style changed, and I'm going to push toward this bee. I like this bee better. And I'll show you some others just for fun while this dries just for a minute. I got to get some Terry Tardy turquoise into the painting. There it is right there. Just let it in there. A little bit of water in my brush, a little bit of a clean brush, always going back into the paint. And then I love a little French gray in here. This French gray has a little bit of yellow in it just because I touched it a minute ago with my brush. I'll have to clean it out after the show. A little bit of purple in here. I'm going to drop a little bit of red right here too, just because I think he needs a little highlight in his tail feathers. This needs to be cleaned out. I was doing something, before I clean it out, I'll just use that green right down here. There we go. That's a good way to clean it out. You see that? I'll just throw this all green down in here, even before I do his feet. So part of this is just working quickly and making snap decisions. And while things are still wet, rolling at it that way, I kind of like that. I'm going to come in here and clean out this little pan right here just with a paper towel. There we go. That's clean enough, for heaven's sakes. It's just watercolor. I'm going to go get a little bit of gamboge, bring it in, a little like so. Most of the time, I just, you know what I do? I pick up color off of my bird, but this time I always mix a little bit of just leg color here that I really like. A little orange, a little red, a little French gray, and I come up with this light little, could I find a sun-kissed yellow like that, or something that maybe I like? It's just as easy to do this, and it's more consistently my style. Now, here's what some of you will struggle with. If you're putting it in here and it hits the ink, yes, you'll get some dark in it that'll tend to turn that ink a little green. And that's okay. You know, maybe he's walking in high grass. It ain't that big a deal. So give yourself a little bit of slack. I need a little piece of that green right here. I like a rooster with a little green feather coming out there. And then, where's that bamboo brush I had here? Take this bamboo brush right here and just open it up like this. Okay, and swing in there and get some green on it like this. And then maybe open it one more time with a little green on it. And then just sweep it just like this. Look, painted all my grass at the same time, see? There we go. Love a bamboo brush. Come on. They are so good. They're just fantastic. I wanted to beef up that ruse. I didn't want to do that. I had green in that brush, so now I got to go clean off my brush. Here we go. I want a little touch of orange right there, just a touch too, and shake this brush off. If you ever saw Charles Reed paint, he would always take his brush like this and just like sling it over there. If you were ever watching to the side, you're going to go, how come the artist is clean and the people watching have more paint on them? It's because Charles Reed just sling his brush off to the side. So he didn't ever use a paintbrush. He just go like that, sling it out. All right, so that gives you a little idea of how fast you can paint that. Look what this purple has done. The amount of water that I had up in here on this bird was less than what I had underneath it. And so remember, the pigment is going to chase the water. Remember this? Least resistance. So now instead of fighting to stay on this page, it's going to go where the water broke down the paper. This is 100% rag cotton. So that's why you're getting these little tributaries. It looks like, wow, that's running upward. It is. It actually is heading upstream. And in fact, this is bolted up a little bit and it's still going upstream. It's because that's wetter, and that wet is soaking the paint, the pigment into the fibers. Please experiment with the paper over and over and over to see what it does, okay? All right. So if you paint roos, you get to where you paint them coming, going upside down, back and forth. If you get into bees, paint bees. Let me show you the bees that I'm painting right now, and I'll show you why. This is just a little piece of steel plate metal. I had sheets of this that were 4 by 8 feet, and I wound up just shearing a piece off from a project I was using. I leave it up here, and I don't use it on all of them. I don't want them to all look the same, but because this was round, I thought it needed some pulling in, and these were just little. Like I said, the lady yesterday, I said, hey, I need some of those. She goes, well, take them. I said, okay, I'll put them in my pocket. I thought this would be funny, so look what I did, and I'll show you why I did it. See these? It says be on the right page, and so these little bookmarks are all original, and they're all numbered. This is 268. This one's 262. This one's 282. No, 280. Ooh, we were getting close. 281. Yeah, that went to 282. That's the last one I did right here. And so I did some of these last night while I was just sitting here. And you see these little, see my bee? Look how close he is to this bee that I just did. This bee that I just did right here. Look, see that? See? Now, what would I do with these? Well, everybody needs a little bookmarker. And so I'm going to go, Carol and I are going to go meet. Carol and I wish we were going to meet Vivian Howard, but we're not yet. By the way, I have read this cookbook all the way through. And you know why? Deep run roots from North Carolina. There's a sheriff that lives in the town where her restaurant is, down in the east coast of North Carolina. And he owns about 45, 50 of my paintings. In fact, I painted a special painting for him and sent it to him as a gift when he retired from the sheriff's department. Jeff and his wife have been buying my work for a long time. And she talks about the way this book is ordered is not by chapters and just recipes. It's driven more than story. It's driven by her story of kind of how she started and what she learned. And I love that. And it's filled with recipes. And then I love this when somebody tells you, don't skip this introduction. So sometimes when I'm reading these books and I see cast iron, I go kind of crazy. And but this is a great cookbook, by the way. And I've read all this because I read the stories that she talks about before it, and how she comes into this. It's really a beautiful book. It's well done. I need a bookmark to read it, so that's what I needed, a bookmark. This is one of my favorites here. Art and food are close. Art drawing, art painting is kind of like art cooking and art eating. Francis Mallmann was one of the most arrogant chefs in the country. Had a real joust with humility, as Queen Guinevere would say. She said to King Arthur, no, she said to Lancelot, have you had a joust with humility lately? And Mallmann in Afrikaans means crazy person or madman, madman. And so one of my favorite, Chip Furr was over at the house one night, and he and I were talking about just cooking out on an open fire. And so I've tried some of Mallmann's recipes because I love to just cook meat over an open fire with wood. And it just goes on and on. But he and I did this recipe right here, which I've done several times. Here's what we do when we do a recipe. We write on it when we did it and the date. Here on 11/21, Chip, you're at my house here, and we did burnt oranges in cast iron. And oh my gosh, I just got to tell you, with sugar and vanilla underneath with rosemary pieces stuffed into the oranges, and you just let them soften and have a spoonful. Yeah, come on. All right, so why did I have these? Here's the books I wanted to show you about. A guy named James Farmer has been writing cookbooks. He's the editor for a while for Southern Living magazine. Interesting guy, very awesome guy, and his family. Here he is. Just loves to cook. I loved his style because I turned in here and said, this is what I want right here. I want to know somebody who's modern day, and we all do, cooking. Cornbread. I have a 14-inch cast iron skillet. I have 26 cast iron skillets, or 7. But I wanted to know his Martha White or White Lily is what he uses most of the time. And so Martha White is what I grew up on, but I use White Lily for biscuits, flour. This is his cornbread. So I have it marked, but he has just come out with a new cookbook. And so this one is all about hosting and summer. Look at his family. This guy is he's just awesome. He's been on our list. Let me just back up and say this. He's been on Carol's list of meat for a long, long time. Just to go sit down with him for 5 minutes and have a word. And so he's got a new cookbook coming out. And so they're holding one for us at the Gardener's Cottage in Asheville, North Carolina on September the 8th. And so I'm taking him a bookmarker. And we're going to say hello. And so I'm going to say hi to Libby. And I'll do a post from there on that Thursday. And so I'm going to take up a few little bee things. And so here's some. It says, be on the right page. This one says, good words flying in. This one says, be on this page. This one says, be willing to share. This one says, I'll be cooking this. This one says, be a reader. And this one says, be taking notes. And so those are my original little statements that I've come up with. And so these are just 110 or 140-pound watercolor paper. They're all original. They're not finished yet. I'm going to drop a few splatters on them like this one. See that? And rip maybe the tops, or maybe just leave them like they are. So those are going with me to Asheville. And here's some of the bees that I painted. I want you to see those cookbooks, and I want to read you a poem before I leave the show this morning. So I painted some of these, and this is part of my iteration. Look, this was just a loose pen, loose water. You can see where these are going. There's 3 that says, call if you find a flower. There's one, there's a big bumblebee going the other direction. Here's another one on the circle that I painted. This is my little Apis. This is 233. This is the Apis mellifera. Here's me changing styles. Here's light. Here's dark. Here's be kind. Here's that. Here's the splatter. Boom and boom. And here's one that's been sprayed just with water. And you see how it just fans out a little bit. So a lot of these are going to make the auction on the 19th. So I'm doing a lot of those for the David's Table auction. So that'll give you an idea of what I'm doing in my spare time when I have a moment to sit down here, which hasn't been much lately because I've been editing so much video. But I hope you're working on something creative. I'm going to go back up here and see if there's any cue. Are you going to sell those coasters? They'd be so usable. Not these, Michelle, because they are, I just lost my page. Where did it go here? Oh, not these because it would be so, the ink would always just be, they're more to frame because this is a soft piece of paper, unless I cut them out of 300-pound paper and painted them, and that would be a little different painting than this. Every time you change paper, every time you change water, every time you change brushes, you're going to learn another little lesson. So don't find that the frustrating part about watercolor. Find that about what you love about watercolor. So this show could have been about, I love my art. Okay, I love my food. Cast iron always makes food taste better. It just seems like it does, huh? Wow. By the way, the burnt oranges are outrageous. You want to peel the orange and you want to take all the pith off the white, and you want to cut the orange in half, and just make sure you don't have it segmented. You just have the orange, and then go get some fresh rosemary and just punch pieces of it down into. Take the little sharp leaves off and punch them down into the orange, and then heat your skillet up, medium heat, medium to medium high heat. Medium is fine, probably medium high. and drop a little spot of butter and maybe a spoonful of sugar in that butter and just let it start to melt a little bit. And then set your orange right down in that, cut side down. Boop, boop, just let them sit there. Don't cover them and just let that sugar butter underneath build a little bit of a sugar caramel. And then what I do maybe sometimes is I'll take a touch of vanilla and I'll just drip a little vanilla on that butter also, because I like that vanilla orange taste. You know, when I was a kid, those orange creamsicles, yeah, talk to me. And so I'll take that and just let it sit there until it starts to smolder and smoke a little bit. What's going to happen is that heat's going to shoot up through that orange. It's going to soften up that orange. It's going to heat on the inside. Slide under there and take that. And if you want to, you can set it down on just a quarter of a spoonful of vanilla yogurt, and then set that down on top of that, and then put a spoonful on top, and then serve it that way. Oh my gosh, I'm hungry. I might have to go cook some today. So that's how you're going to do that. All right. Hey, let me finish with. Oh, that's the wrong journal. Look at this one. This is where I started. Here, I started in the journal like this. Look at the paintings. Hey, don't think I had a hard time finding my style. Look, people. There's a rooster. Here's fruit. Here's penguins. Here's cups. Here's palm tree. Here's bugs. Someone cavorting. You know, it's just the style that I started with. Found roosters near the end of this. There's some sheep, which I said, no, I'm not too many legs. I'm not doing that anymore. There's people. There's the anatomy. There's a town in Italy. I wasn't even in Italy. There's some bird of paradise flowers. There's the eye. Okay, so you can see how I started. And then you know where I am now. I just tell stories with journals. This one, of course, was, think of Jason. This was from Paris. And this one, of course, was from last year in Maine, when we flew into Maine. And these, of course, to paint all the things that I've done there. On the back, I always do one of these. Some of you have seen this. I do a large painting. There's the lobster. These are Japanese journals that are all accordion. They all fold out. It's been a great way for me to keep up with my trips. Art that comes from the heart will always be loved more and respected more and treasured more than art that just comes from rote. And so my bees have a story. My roosters have a story. If I were a gardener, my flowers would have a story. If you love to host and you love to cook, maybe it's the food sources. And maybe you're just a good painter of what you see in the landscapes. Come on, if you've been there, paint it. I really got hooked when I was in Maine, painting that little island that I'd always see out there on the coastline. These little islands like this, and I thought, you know, I love doing miniatures of this little island. There's a little lighthouse out there that's called Indian Island. Here's Curtis Lighthouse here. Here's another little island that's out there. Love those little islands that I could see out there. So those gave me just here's the island in Acadia National Park. Here's the coastline. So these little sketches like this, just with a pen and water and letting the water drip and standing there and listening to the thunder hole explode. This is Camden, where I painted on Edge of the Ocean, Edge of the Ocean. This I actually painted an original of this that's framed. It's in our house, and so I have one of those that's framed. So for me, these are great memories that Carol and I do together. This is a little painting that I didn't see. This is a painting of a painting, and I did it so that I would come back home and look up Janice Sanders. She's a knife painter and paints these stark blue. And I said, this is the coolest thing against yellow and blue green. This person looks Scandinavian, and I looked the person up, and Scandinavian it is. And so I said, must try my own style. But you know what? I didn't. It's not me. It's someone else, but I loved it. So I kept up with it. All right. I'm going to read you a poem before I leave. I won't go down that trail. I'll go down this trail right here. Shucks. Thought I had it. Here it is. It's called. These are poems. Take a look at this book right here. This is my poem journal. I've been doing this for a long time. People, look what it says. Copyright 1974. It wasn't really copywritten, but it was. Well, I guess it is. It's published now, so it's not published that you can buy. But I signed my name Bluegrass because I was from a little community outside Knoxville, Tennessee called Bluegrass. And so I also played a banjo, and people always just called me Bluegrass in high school. Hey, Bluegrass, come over here. So I show up. And it was both a term that could have bothered some people, but I sort of took pride in it because I was from this little place that nobody else remembered or couldn't keep up with or thought was just a little Hicksville. And it's a great little town today. The Village Blacksmith, this is the 1981 version, and I published this version. I sent it to National Geographic, and they're the ones who said, we'll publish it for you. But we want it to be in our anthology. We sent it up to our department. The department said, this guy's unheard of. We can't really publish his work, but we could let him put it in our anthology. Tell him it'll only cost him $150 to put it in the anthology. And I said, I'm keeping my $150 in my poem. You print it, it's going to cost you more than $150. Uppity little guy in 1981, wasn't I? Okay, big guy. Here we go. It's called The Village Blacksmith, and it's what I love, and that's why I've tied it into art today. Under the spreading sheet metal roof, chestnuts died of a blight in 31, the outcast smithy stands. His clothes are black and sooty, for that's where he wipes his hands. His creativity's stifled, because history's drowned in the future's pool. His neighbor's complaints are rifled at the pounding of this fool. You got to remember, I forge in a subdivision. My equipment's on wheels, I just roll it out. The ringing of the anvil echoes its past to all, but petitions from the present HOA bring the ringing of the law. The noise, they say, it just wrecks our nerves. Our ears, they ring in pain. The smoke clouds up the neighborhood. The coal dust? What about acid rain? What is this fool? A pilgrim? Someone arrived too late? Who dreams of handmade follies and good things are worth the wait? Whose bellows grasp for one last breath to forge its form, its art? Just a crusty, old smithy in a 21st century heart. I want you people to hold on to art like it's the handle of a good blacksmithing hammer, and use it and turn with it and push with it and plow with it and pound with it and be all you can be to be an artist if you want to be. If not, support other artists. Find a way to support young artists where you live. Shoot, you can support me. You can be a Patreon member. Find a way that you can support artists to keep the community going. Whether they're writers or painters or filmmakers or storytellers or poets or blacksmiths or carpenters or wood makers or a person who makes wooden spoons, whittlers, editors, photographers, keep going. The arts must stay alive, just like bees, because without them, we don't cross-pollinate. We just don't. We just get siloed out. And loneliness stinks. So, when you can get out of your house and look at other artists and talk to them and watch what they do, your learning will go up. You can be afraid, but I ask you not to be. Will we have COVID again? Yeah, we'll all get it a couple times. I'm still sniffling from it. My doctor just had my physical and he said, dude, you're healthy. I said, except for this. He goes, just live with it for a few more months and it might go away, it might not. So it is what it is. I want to call you to support the arts one way, somehow. If you want to know how to do that with people in this community, contact them. If you want to be a part of Patreon, look it up. If you want to share your art. Anne was on her way to Rome, and she said, what am I going to do? And I helped her get a journal, and then I talked to her about paints, and I said, wait, what are you going to carry all that in? She goes, I don't know. And I said, you need a bug-out bag. And so I reached down in my little black bag that I carry, and I took it, and I dumped all my stuff down in the bottom, and she says, you can't give this to me. And I said, I can, because, Anne, I want to, and that makes it possible to give. All right, so I did, and so My bug out bag just went to Rome. It's like my coat. I had a coat that went to Russia 2 times before I did. Hey, this is 282. I'll put this on my Facebook page in just a minute. I write a little story on the back where we were, and this is one of the little cups. Boom, look at that. That I put in my one of the little coasters that they just sit on the bar to keep condensation from happening. I'm drinking sweet tea with no ice, so there's no condensation. So I painted on it, and then I said, "Ooh, could I have some more of those?" And she said, "Sure, take a couple." I said, "Well, that won't take long." See, here's one that you can't look. This is their logo, so I keep that one over here to mark up. But I think there's another one somewhere. There's another one right there. I hadn't even finished that one yet. So look. So this is the one I'm going to sell right here, 282. That's the one I did this morning. You saw me do it. There it is. I'll put it out. And there you go. Blessings to you. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Hey, last sip. Look at my wall over there. Figure out who I'm going to send a little note to right now. Blessings to you. Where's my going out music?